Hey, good afternoon. This is Chuck from Monocoque Metalworks. It's been a couple weeks, I think, since we did a video. Sorry, we've had a lot going on around here, shipping parts and this and that. And we've been working on this car for a little while. I usually try to make the videos like, oh, look how great this is. It's so perfect, and like not show you the making of the sausage. But I'm going to show you that a little bit today. This is a 66 coupe. I actually call it a 65 because it's still got the early style 3/8 type crossover pedal box. But anyway, this is like a 65, 66 coupe. We've built a whole new floor assembly for it in the Jig, and we've lowered down what's left of the original body. And what we were doing late last week and early this week is now mating the original body with the Jig floor. Now, you've probably seen in the past around here, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, there's pieces of it all over the place. We had the full cockpit jigs in here last week, and we were pushing in the inner sills just where we wanted them. We came around with the spot welder and spot welded and used the MIG to attach the A and B posts down to the inner sills, and we're just continuing on there. We'll be doing some tunnel work and stuff like that. This over here on the left-hand side, this B post was a disaster. And so before I can move forward, I really wasn't able to attach this B post to the inner sill because there was nothing left of it. And we actually spot welded down here, and everything was really out of whack. I could not figure out what was wrong. And the Jig is kind of a blessing and a curse because once you get this stuff in there, it doesn't move, and it really points out if something's out of whack real quick. And so we know our floor and inner sills are where they need to be because we had all the cockpit jigs in. The roof is where it needs to be, but this whole B post was shoved down. Couldn't figure it out. Finally, I just realized that this thing was put together wrong in this seam at the factory. It came across here, and then it just kind of took a nosedive here. And we eventually figured that out through deductive reasoning. And also, when you would put this quarter window in, you'll see that it fits great now. I don't know how much of this will show up on the video, but it fits in here beautifully with the same gap all the way around. Well, let me tell you, last week, it didn't fit like that. It was fine here, and then starting right here, it started coming down. So if you take a look, Brent came by and drilled out all of these spot welds here. We had to raise this point up about 3/16, almost a quarter inch. And once we did that, that then closed this up nice. It made this the size it was going to be, and we could go ahead and start putting the B post back together. If we hadn't done that, the door was going to be all out of whack, the window was going to be all out of whack, and I know we're only talking a 3/16, but believe me, you get in a lot of trouble when you want to start putting the car back together. So if you go around there, you can see from that side, you should be able to zoom in and see where we have unzipped this and moved it up. There's a little gap there, and you can kind of see right through. There's a drilled out spot weld, so you can see how high up it is. Now, I have restored the original shut face by putting a patch in down here. I prefer to do that versus replacing the shut face. We haven't made the molds for this piece yet, and the aftermarket panels don't have this in the right place. So I always restore that and put it back in. Now, we put everything together with these screws as we go, and I'm going to go ahead and undo this some for you. See, here's where we drilled out originally when we were dissecting the car. These are drilled out spot welds, same here with some of the inner support pieces, and we'll just now use those holes as plug welding holes to put this back together. But come on back around while I'm taking this back apart, and I'll show you what is inside here. So you've got these little screws, and my screw holes are going to let me put this right back where I had it before. If you just use vice grips, things will move around on you, and you'll see why I don't want them to move around. I tend to get a little aggressive with my putting on of vice grips. So let's get this back out like that. Just go ahead and let the screws fall all over the place. All right, and then we'll pull this guy out here. Come on. There. All right, this screw's still in. That is what is inside of there. Now, these are both new panels that were made here. I call this the coupe. The coupes and roadsters are a little bit different. This panel is exactly the same on coupes and roadsters. This one's different. This is what was in there. All right, so there's your little box section there. On a roadster, this comes out and has a seal here. We won't get into that right now. But what we've done is gone ahead and made new panels. They're available here. We've spot welded them together just like that. You go in there, you'll see the nice strong spot welds. And we have sprayed this down with zinc weld-through primer. If you look on the old one, something interesting here. This is the line of the dipped primer, when they dip these in a tank. You heard me talk about that a couple weeks ago. So the car was kind of on an angle about like that, and you can see the primer line. Now when you take a BPost apart, you'll see a little panel like this that is spot welded to this panel, but not to anything else. For years, I could not figure out what that was. I thought it was some kind of jigging thing. What I think it actually is a panel to direct the flow of that really thin primer after it comes back out, so it doesn't puddle up down in here and take forever to dry. It just directs it down into that hole. So what we will do now is I'll put this back in there. I'll trace along here. I will then pull this out and spot weld that to this. And then I'll put this whole thing back in there as an assembly. And I know it'll be right because I've got my little holes there. And then I'll go ahead and plug weld, plug weld, plug weld, spot weld. And then if you come around the very back, the inner rear wheel arch is all screwed up. And someone has brazed in a patch and sunken in the fender. Of course, we'll be making a new custom repair panel for that. And we will also be cutting this off and using one of our inner wheel arch repair panels right there. But in the meantime, I had rust up in here too. So come look right in here like this. This is a little triple layer sandwich, and it goes just like that. And then if you look under here this way, you'll see where I've put a little patch in. It's about 1.5 inches high. I will grind down this seam nice and smooth it all out. And then right here in this triple seam sandwich, I will come along and stitch right in with the MIG, and that'll seal this up. No moisture will get up in there, and it'll weld all three of these together in this area where you can't get in there now with a spot welder. Then we'll cut this off. This is a separate panel here, this door sealing edge. It's spot welded this way. We will cut it off here and piece in a little repair, and then this will all get fixed with our outer rear wheel arch repair. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're muxing around with today. Don't be afraid to measure, 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 and then decide, I think the factory made a mistake here. They were pretty sloppy with these cars, and this was an absolute factory screw up. As soon as we unzipped this, everything went right back into shape. But it's easy for us to figure that out because our jig is so unmoving. That's it. That's what we're up to today. Thanks a lot for watching.